Kia ora, I'm Guro Jee Choi of Floro Fighting Systems, Pacific Northwest. How are you all doing today? I hope you guys are all well and surviving and enduring throughout this COVID disaster that we're all facing. Anyhow, got some good news. Right now where I live, they're just entering what we call modified phase 1. So this allows me to actually teach outdoors. Supposedly up to 5 individuals. I do not know how that's going to work, but for group classes, but generally I do mano-a-mano, one-on-one private instructions anyways. So I really don't see much of a problem when it comes to social distancing since we utilize weapons. Anyhow, a couple developments here. One is I've been getting a lot of emails and questions from folks asking if I'm going to be offering some self-defense oriented classes. Well, to answer that question, let me say this first. Everything that I do is actually keyed and oriented towards self-defense. Now, what FFS is basically, Floro Fighting Systems is pretty much a fighting system that is perfect for self-defense. But at the same time, I do hear, yes, some of you guys asking, can you do something that's more oriented towards just self-defense only? And I say, hey, no problem. Because my teacher, Raymond Floro, is an avid fan of police baton method, such as the Baton methodology that was created by Arthur Lamb back in the old days. That I believe, in my professional opinion, Ray perfected that particular system because it does wonders for self-defense applications. Since it's mainly designed, it was specifically designed for law enforcement, but for civilian application, it is perfect in my opinion because many times I get people ask me, hey gee, what's the best self-defense that you would recommend? I say, first of all, I'm a firearms advocate, so any chance, if you're going to be in the United States, I always tell you, if it's legal in your jurisdiction, first of all, get yourself the training that is required to utilize the firearms for self-defense. Most importantly, you have to understand the legal aspect too. So that's part of your training, not just operating the tool at hand. But for those of you who are not in a region, there are actually places in the United States where you can't have a firearm. So if you're stuck in those kind of oddball areas, I recommend you to learn to utilize something like this. Now, this is just a sparring buffer. That's about the machete and baton length. And even just one of those, if you have let's say worst case scenario, only thing that you get is a broom and you cut it into a length of a stick. If you learn Baton method, that's pretty much the only self-defense. If it's the only self-defense you ever want to have that you could actually apply, I would actually recommend that in a heartbeat now. One of my Floro Fighting Systems brothers, shout out to both my teacher Raymond Floro and Ray Gallia. How's it going, brothers? They're both based out of Australia, wonderful gentlemen. I haven't met Ray Gallia yet, but we're friends on Facebook, and he's been kind enough to share some of his stories and experience utilizing the Baton for dealing with a road rage incident, protecting himself and his 3-year-old daughter. I say if you want to learn more about that, go online, go to, yeah, I know they're both Ray, go to rayfloro.net. There should be online courses. Click on Calice Illustrissimo Part 2 and get that. That's actually very wonderful instructional material. So get it, go through it. There's I think it's the first or the second segment of the second seminar where Ray Gallia is there and Ray is actually explaining, he's telling his story of his experience utilizing Baton methodology for self-defense to protect himself and his little girl during a road rage accident. And say, when you listen to that, that kind of is one hell of a testimonial. And then, for me personally, the reason why I decided to offer this course through my tactical system, not through the Floro Fighting System, but through the House of Black Giant Society's Comprehensive Tactical Solutions. I'll leave the links after the clip so you guys could take a look to see which one you want to go and see it. I'll leave that out there. But why I'm a big fan of it now is, one, there are places, and I do have folks that are calling in, sending me messages and email, and God damn it, I need a haircut, but barbershops are closed, so hopefully soon I'll get a haircut. I know I look like a hippie, so deal with me on that one. But the land Baton, my God, it's just a genius because it baffles me because Arthur Lamb is not a Filipino martial artist. Yet he has crafted this wonderful system that left the basis for utilizing a baton for dealing with pretty much any attackers, idiots who pretty much dares, and generally it's a wonderful tactic. I don't see why I asked some of my law enforcement students and I asked, hey, have you guys learned this or heard of it? The old school ones who actually got into service from 70s and 80s and early 90s, they heard of it. The ones from the 80s, they actually did get some proper training in it. 90s and up, they didn't get this method. It's like a more FMA oriented methodology, and I say, just coming from a Filipino martial arts perspective, I say this thing is damn good, and I can see why, my teacher Ray Floro actually loves it. And afterwards, in my professional opinion, I think Ray perfected it. Arthur Lamb had a wonderful system, and he actually had it got it to it down where I say it's applicable just from the illustrations alone. But Ray really took it to another step, and good on that. Shout out to my brother on that one. That's my favorite system right now for using a baton. So going back to the question, yes, I will offer this as a separate course for those of you who just want to learn land baton method. So give me a call at 206-859-9314 or simply hit me up on my Facebook. You'll see this face on the Facebook for the picture, so I don't think you really get that mistaken. So there you go. Also, you can just visit my website at www.jeechoi.com, jeechoi.com, so very easy. So there's the whole contact information if you need to get a hold of me. I am in King County, Washington, USA, so not really that difficult to find. If you're wondering where, I'll give it easy, Newcastle. So if you guys are interested in learning from me, getting some training and sparring in, by all means, that's how you find me. Now, going back to the land baton method, not many people like to, first of all, I'm going to go into the legal side of things. In Washington State, you're not permitted to carry a collapsible baton or bludgeons or impact devices such as a baton or things like that on the person, even with a concealed pistol license. Some states actually, if you have a CCW, concealed carry weapons permit, some states will permit you to carry a collapsible baton. But in our state, the state where I reside in, that's a big no-no. So what's it good for if you can't really have it on you? Well, home defense. If you know how to utilize this just for properly, I think for home defense it'll work wonderfully. Another option would be, now don't take my advice on this, is hypothetically me just saying things out loud, is let's say you have a tire iron that you just happen to have near your back seat of the car, that during a road rage, sort of jackass, and when you're trying to de-escalate, he starts really being a fucking idiot and will start to assault you or attempt to. Well, the method that Ray teaches for land baton method that I teach here, it is perfect for those fucking idiots. Takes about, the entire system comprises of 7 techniques, and there's a forehand and pretty much the backhand techniques that you'll learn, but I won't go too much into it because the system is so bloody simple that I'm just kind of shocked how easy it is to not only learn it but to apply it. So if you're interested in learning the most simplest, the most effective and direct impact weapon system that you could find, land baton method, you can train with me directly, or if you don't, due to social distancing, if you're kind of a little bit skittish about getting near people, or if you have agoraphobia, I highly recommend Ray's online course on land baton method. He actually has the entire course already filmed and online for students that study by online, from distance. There's nothing wrong with that. If you dedicate yourself to it and train really hard, it'll work. If you want to really test it out, you could schedule a session with instructors, accredited instructors like myself, and test it out to make sure it works. The way I'm a firearms instructor, so one of the things I'll tell you is I always relate my other job with my current job. And I'll tell you this. If you have a gun, and if you never ever, what the fuck, hold on a sec. Sorry, murder hornet. Okay, yeah, that's dead, alright. Yeah, we've been getting those shits nearby here, so that's not fun. Okay, it's not a murder hornet, it's a gigantic moth or something that resembled a moth, but sorry, so going back to it, so if you get trained, like going back to firearms, there's no, if you have a gun, if you never put it to work, never got the training for it, never fired it, and expect you to actually be good at it when you use it for self-defense, you are dreaming. That's how come it's important to get adequate training. You have to, first of all, I always advocate, before you even think about getting a firearm, you have to understand it's a life-changing experience. You have to change your lifestyle. In order to carry, in order to utilize a firearm, there's a lot of things that goes with it. So you can't just buy a gun thinking I'm going to be safe. So when utilizing that methodology, if you buy a gun, you have to get the training. You have to understand the safety before you get the training. Understand the 4 rules on firearm safety, then proper training, then understand 4 pillars of self-defense. So what to do, how to properly engage, rules of engagement basically, and the legal aspect of it. Then, after shooting ridiculous amount of rounds and making sure you can actually connect it where you intend to, with the good marksmanship, then now you're ready. Now with this kind of training, is pretty much the same around in formula. So let's say if you train by online through a race online course, that's not a bad idea. You do that, train the living hell out of it, get the proper training tool and the equipment. Good thing about Floro fighting systems is Ray's got a wonderful YouTube clip where he actually teaches you how to make one of these. So you can make the training tool by yourself just by going to Lowe's and spending less than $10. That's actually how much it took to build me one of these. So, and we have a ridiculous amount of these here. So there's that. Then schedule a session with an accredited instructor like yours truly and test it out to make sure that it works. Then what I can do anytime when I get my students who do the online course and they come and train with me for sparring, what I do is I could correct, instead of going through the whole thing with them like over and over again, like a broken parrot that's repeating itself, I can now spar and figure out where your training scars, if any, if you developed it, and I could correct that. So you can actually apply it without having any of those mistakes. 99% of the times is the distance, and it's very easy to correct by footwork and just by posture and stance. And that's how it is. Now you got yourself a working system, and you didn't have to spend yourself ridiculous amount of time at the local dojo, or just do like crazy training with an instructor direct without knowing nothing about the system that you're trying to learn. So there you have it. Hope this helps. If you got any questions, by all means, shoot me an email, message, or find me on Facebook or call. Please do not call after 9. It's like there's nothing worse when I'm on my other job, and my other job is modifying weapons. And so anytime when I'm doing grip mod or like stippling, nothing worse when the phone rings as you're about to put that final touch on it and you just go zigging straight across the frame, and that sucks. So please, for the love of Christ, call me before 9. I don't leave my phone off because I have friends and family members who call me sometimes if it's an emergency. So it won't go to the voicemail. So for the love of Christ, don't call me after hours. All right, thank you. Stay sharp, stay safe, and I hope you guys don't go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs during the Corbett season. All right, later.